Welcome. Sometimes we wonder whether we would recognize evil when we see it. Often we say, oh, of course we would be able to recognize it. It's evil. Well, evil comes in many guises. Now, in 1928, there was a building built. Its name was the Lord Baltimore Hotel. And I know you can probably imagine where it was built because it's in the title, the Lord Baltimore Hotel. Right around that time, there was also a significant portion of American history that happened. It was called the Great Depression. Maybe some of you have heard of that. No?
Yes.
Now, the Lord Baltimore Hotel was sort of the height of luxury. It's still sort of pretty swanky, but at the time, it was the ultimate. Now, several of the people went there, knowing they probably really couldn't afford it, but they didn't end up thinking they'd ever have to pay their bill, because the Lord Baltimore Hotel is haunted, because many of the people used it as their exit strategy. They went there and had one last good time and committed suicide. Now I have some of the pictures of some of these people that were at the Lord Baltimore. Like they're having a good time, yes? Yeah. I'm gonna have you touch the back of one of these, and I'll continue. This one? This one right here. Is that the one you want? Good. This. Make sure you get this one. Excellent. Now, three of the people we're going to talk about from the Lord Baltimore were a mother, a father, and a small girl. The girl's name was Molly. Now, Molly's one of the famous haunts of the hotel because, unfortunately, her parents and her ended their lives at the Lord Baltimore. Now, some of the people would say they all went up to the roof and jumped together. That's the fairy tale story. Some of the other people think it's a little darker. They think they went upstairs and the father decided for them. The reality is even darker. You see, because they did go up to the 19th floor. But Molly decided she was going to play a game on the ledge. And when her parents went to retrieve her, she took them both with her. Now, Molly's still at the Lord Baltimore. She plays games with people sometimes, hide and go seek, things like that, looking for her ball. She always stays towards the 19th floor. Now, you selected one. This is Molly. What did you choose? Molly. And this is the Venetian room of the hotel. This is the ballroom. This is the postcard many of the people saw at the last of their lives. And this is the roof. So if you ever find your way to the Lord Baltimore, Molly says there's plenty of room on that ledge. You. Our next tale takes place at a southern town, much like this. It takes place at a diner. There was a young man, his fiancée, and her two parents. Now the parents sat down with the young man as he wanted to marry their daughter. And they said, well, we've heard about you. I'm sure you've heard about us. Now is the time. We're going to ask you a few questions. And he said, well, you know, I was brought up in a very strict household, and my parents often joked many times that I would actually become a priest till I met your daughter. He said, but I researched my family trade, looking forward on my communion. He said, I found some interesting things. This took so much time, it led into my confirmation. He said, I found my birth certificate. He said, and I found all the medical records, but the medical records mentioned a weird word that I hadn't heard. Vestibular twin. He said, I didn't know what that meant, so I looked it up. He said it meant that I was supposed to have a brother but in the womb, I absorbed him. He said, that kind of disturbed me, but nobody in the family would talk to me about it. So I went and sought out my uncle, who happened to be a priest. And he said, yeah, you were sort of the talk of the family for quite a long time because of what happened. He said, but unfortunately, you're what's called a reprobate. He said, well, what does that mean? He says, from the beginning, you're damned. He said, well, I haven't done anything. He said, no. Like Cain, you murdered your brother. So there's no real hope for you. He said, well, that's kind of harsh words, and he went away feeling really terrible. Went to sleep that evening and had a horrible dream. You might call it a nightmare. In the dream, he actually went to the gates of heaven, and there awaiting him was St. Peter. St. Peter was actually holding his birth certificate, and alongside of him was his brother. And he said, well, unfortunately, to get into the gates of heaven, you have to have an admittance ticket. He said, being that there are two of you, we'll have to see what we can do. So he took the birth certificate and folded it. He said, well, this will be the fate of you and your brother. You're going to play the brother that didn't live. This is the fate of the brother that did live. I love Myrtle Beach humidity. Now you can open it up as I arrange the fate of the one that did live. Now, as I said, his uncle considered him a reprobate. Which meant that was his fate. Well, the young man sitting in the diner looked at his two future in-laws, and a waiter came back to the table, and the young man looked up to him and said, you might as well bring me a double. I'm drinking for two. You can keep that if you like. I have no use for it. Now, I often go in search of strange and unusual bookstores. One of my favorite bookstores, though it's far away from here now, is in a place called Providence, Rhode Island. It was down a side street. It was a tiny antique bookstore that was on, I think, the third floor. There was a winding staircase that went upstairs. It was in the corner. The roof slanted down, and there were all kinds of Lovecraftian books and antique artifacts and things like that in the bookstore. Now, in the corner of the bookstore, because the roof slanted down, I don't know if many of the people actually went in there, but I actually found this. And it was a letter and several cards. Now, these cards were sort of odd and unusual in that they were strange and unusual pictures, but they sort of repeated themselves. There were 3, 4, 5, and then there were another 5 with the identical ones. Would you be so kind as to help? Come on up. Everyone, this is Kevin. There we go. Excellent. That's now you're identified. Good. Now we're going to try this sort of experiment. We can read through these instructions. You don't mind playing this game, yes?
No.
Good. The package has been given to you. It means the old owner has no more use for it. And that's usually not good. Their soul is now lost, and there is no hope for them. The package you have contains some images, but do not be fooled. They are cursed, and to perform this ritual with them could damn your soul and unleash an ancient evil.
Worse.
Doesn't sound too bad. If it's evoked, it will come for you and your soul. Well, it's not bad for me. You can't go back now. Well, it says you can't go back now, so. The cards are calling you out, and you will not be able to resist them. You are destined to be the next one to perform the ritual. You will be guided in the ways of the ritual, and this is what to do. It's very important you follow the instructions you are given to the letter. You will have a voice telling you what to do. That would be me. Your choices will be your own, though. Display the cards, yes, yes. The images can be seen. Divide the images into 2 piles. Keep the images side up. You will spell the words, "This can curse souls." Well, that's sort of along the rest of the lines. For each letter of the words, one image will be taken from the top, placed on the bottom, and once the word is spelled, the top cards from both piles are taken and placed on the table. This will be repeated until all the words are spelled. So we'll start out using "This can curse souls." So, now, would you like the left or the right pile?
I'll take the left pile.
The left pile, good. So the first word is "this." So we'd have T, H, I, S. See, look, we're already going fairly well. We have 2 matches. Now, which one would you want to use?
The left pile again.
The left pile again? Good, good. So the word is can. So we have C, A, N. Look, we have another 2 matches. You might win something in this.
We'll go with the right.
The right pile, good. Curse, we have C, U, R, S, E, and we have another match. So which?
We'll go with the right pile again.
Right pile? Souls, S, O, U, L, S. We have a match here with these 2, and well, you've matched all of the cards. You've done very well. Now let's see what it says. Yeah, we'll see what it says. For the sake of your soul, I pray that you do not match all 5 pairs of
Sorry, dude.
If you do, the truth will be revealed, and you will have unleashed an ancient evil. I pray for your soul, your friend in hell. Well, that's a positive note. How bad can it be? Look, let's see. We have these 2 match, and old black magic. That's always good. These match, and ooh, demonic possession. That's a good one. It's like that song, "You Have a Friend in Me." These 2 match, and ooh, it's hauntings. These 2 match, and ooh, murder.
Better.
What's the last one? Absolute nothingness. Well, thank you for helping. And have fun. Wasn't that bad, see? Use anything tangible. Let's see, who do we have can help us? Christopher, would you come up, please?
I'd love to.
Excellent. We have a tiny box of evil. Ooh. Evil. Let's see what's in the box of evil. So we have some cards that are from the Ars Goetia. It's always good. And before we deal with demonic forces, we always use our seal of Solomon ring. You have yours with you?
I don't know if it's Solomon seal, but
I'm sure it'll be fine for me. How bad can it be? Spread these out. And, And we have a scroll, and I don't know, do you want to bother to read it, or do we want to just, get on with summoning the demons?
What are you guys? I'm on for some of the
Read the
demons.
demons.
You should read it.
Dearest friend, please heed my warning and bear my words. I have much to tell you and so little time to tell it. I've been meddling with things I did not fully understand and fear that I must pay the highest price. It started out years ago with a dusty old book about Ars Goetia and a veritable bestiary of ancient demons. Foolish and arrogant with youth, I paid little heed to the supposed power contained within the ancient pages. But I was so very wrong, and why did I come to haste? I followed so many of the unhallowed rituals in a foolhardy attempt to evoke the demonic forces contained within in order to do my bidding and await the powers it promised. Well, that sounds good.
These are the worst motivational speakers.
It says that, the service serious error had been resided. I took the associated team. Well, let's just read the rest when we're done. Yeah.
Okay.
Trivial. So I'm going to touch two, and then you will eliminate one, and then we'll do the same until we get down to one demon that we'll work with. Yes? Sure. Good. You take these, and which one do you want to eliminate? This one? Good. Eligos is on there.
Okay.
You touch one and two, and then I'll. Take this one. Astaroth. This one. Burr. This one. Gremory. Good. Ronway. This one. Vapula is not, must be a vapor guy. This one. Marchios. Well, there's two left and it's my choice, so let's take this one away. Seer. So they're all listed on this list of all the demons we wanted to work with. So we have one left. It's a little bit slightly different than the other ones because this one has blood dripped all over it. It's not usually that bad. Just a scratch. Andros is a great marquis of hell, having under his command 30 legions of demons. That's pretty good. Sows discord among people and highly unpleasant. Andros was considered to be a highly dangerous demon who could kill the conjuring magician and his assistants if precautions were not taken. We didn't finish reading all of the scroll, so
We're supposed to show read the instructions.
well, we probably should see what it says. I looked upon the image associated with the 9 of the most ferocious demons laid upon the table. I used an assistant, rejecting images one by one, sometimes even asking a servant, until just one image remained. It was the image of Andros, the great Marquis of Hell. He called to me, and I foolishly answered Andros, and now he seeks to claim my very soul. I have my ring. He is a highly venomous demon and truly skilled in using people's anger against them. Do not evoke him and do not gaze upon his image, or you shall suffer my fate. May God guide you and protect you. Yeah, maybe we should have read this before. Well, I got this paper over here.
Okay.
That's my portion of this evening's entertainment.